Hi, what's up? This is Red Fury. How's your mood today? It's been a while since the last video on this channel, but I'm happy to see you again. Today we will talk about how to properly choose your main hero pool in Dota 2. And at the end of the video, I'll show you an important statistical factor that people at high ranks don't always talk about. I won't really own personal feelings, I also use a more rational approach and show you some tools that help determine your main. Let's start with something simple. Before building your hero pool, you need to decide on your role. Roles are a very important part of Dota. Today we won't dive too deep into that topic, but for beginners I recommend choose two roles, one main role and one secondary role. Your main role is the one where you will spend your role tokens, and the secondary role is basically the one of you get randomly. At the time of recording this video, the roles players most often get a hard support and offlane. So statistically, you probably get a hard support more often. That's why until you reach higher ranks, you can reserve that role as your secondary role. Also, from what I've seen at low ranks, for example, and during my own journey in Dota 2, position 4 and position 5 supports are almost identically in a practice. So my recommendation is simple: take support as your secondary role and don't worry about it too much. But your main role is something you need to find for yourself. I can give strong advice here, it depends entirely on what you expect from the game. Maybe support will even become your main role, while everything else becomes second. The idea behind focusing on two roles is to avoid spreading yourself too thin and to become more efficient. Practice shows that you should play a limited number of heroes until your execution with that hero become almost automatic. For me personally, that's around 100 or 120 games on a hero, but your number might be smaller. So now that we've decided on roles, let's move to choosing your main hero pool. To do that, you need to pay attention to two important things in Dota: meta and personal performance on a hero. The meta mostly depends on current patch, and at low ranks it has a smaller impact. Essentially, you can play almost any hero. At high ranks, however, even a small buff or nerf can matter in micro situations. Your personal performance, on the other hand, is all about practice. If you like a hero and you perform well on it, then the hero is a strong candidate for your main pool. Now let's move to on practice. If you have a Dota Plus, you can check the trend statistic for your run directly in the game. What does this give you? First, you can easily see the most popular picks in your bracket. Second, for a comfortable experience, I personally recommend choosing one or two heroes that are not very popular, but that you personally play extremely well. Why? Because most players are used to playing against the same hero over and over, and picking something less common can confuse your opponents. Another very important factor is the meta-analysis. To determine which heroes roughly meta, you can use a different resource, for example Dota2protracker.com. In the meta section you can see builds and what's popular and effective at medium and high ranks. However, the metric I really recommend paying attention to is something subtle but very important: stage trends. These show the win rate of heroes depending on the game duration. This is a huge factor. The reason is that game duration is inversely proportional to rank. The higher rank, the faster games usually end. If you play at low ranks, your games will often last 15 plus minutes. That means you should pick heroes whose power spike matches the stage of the game. For example, let's take a carry heroes like Luna or Brutmat. They are very strong in the early stages of the game, but become less effective in the late game. Now compare them to Faceless Void, who is considered a hard carry and becomes extremely strong in 50 plus minute games. All of this matters when everything else is equal. If you perform your role reasonably well, you will be more effective at certain stages of the match. Stage trends helps you shape your hero pool. Based on it, you can choose heroes suitable for your bracket and even define your play style. For your main pool, I would recommend selecting 4 or 5 heroes and focusing only on them. My advice is this: if you are a beginner, your games will probably last longer, so your hero pool can include several hard carries, for example for the carry role, and that becomes extremely strong in the late game. Write in the comments how you choose your main pool. If you have any advice, I'd love to read it. And remember, play like a true Fury. Was a Red Fury. Ciao!